Okay, I'm assuming you've done the assignment where we make the pair cam follow the follower, and we're going to do this again. We're going to this time add a follower and a hole in the top of the box and move this snail cam so that it's in this spot here. Now the first thing we're going to do is get the snail cam inside our box. So the way we do that is we use the constrain tool. Right, we're going to put it right on the shaft because we're going to put a second cam in there, and we're going to say constrain. And then what we're going to do is use the mating tool, which is the default one that comes up, and we're going to zoom in on the crankshaft here, right? And you see how you got that dotted line going across there? That's the axis of the crankshaft. So we're going to left click on that. And then we're going to zoom out a little bit and zoom in on our our snail cam. And if I roll, you see there's that dotted line again, that arrow. And that's what I want. I click on it with the left button and I say apply. And I have my snail cams inside. So that's great and all. I'm going to close this window. But it's not quite where I want it, although it's certainly, approximately there. So I'm going to use the little hand here. I'm going to click out of the tool, use the escape key, use the little hand, move everything over. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put another follower in here and have this cam follow the crank. Now the first thing we're going to do is make the cam follow the crank. So to do that, we're going to use the constrain tool, right? I'm going to say constrain again. And this time we're going to use the one for angles. Now if we go over here, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options right here, where you can see it, my cursor should be floating over it, and you're going to use the second one here that says angle. It lights up the word angle, right? It looks like a little box is at an angle. And we have 3 options. We have directed angle, undirected, and explicit reference vector. This is more complicated. We just want directed angle. I'm going to click on that. And you see how it turns to 0 automatically. It already does that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the crank, and I'm going to pick a surface. It doesn't really matter which surface I pick since it's going to be parallel to it. So I'm going to zoom in on the top side here. And you see the little green arrow that points upward? That shows which surface. I click on that and turn it blue. I'm going to zoom out. And then go in right here. And I'm going to go right here to, you'll see the flat side of the snail. As I move it across, it sort of lights it up. And again, a little green arrow. And I go like that. And you heard that little chirp. That means that it worked. I say apply. And I zoom out. And now if I close this window, you will see that it does that. There we go. We have our little snail cam. Now, one of the things, though, you'll notice that the follower pops up on both the snail and the pair cam. I may not want quite that kind of motion. So I'm going to go over to the left side here where it says model, this list here of all my parts. And an interesting thing you can do here is this lets you sort of open up the parts and change them. So what I'm going to do here is go open up the thing here. See where it says demo snail cam. I'm going to click on the little plus sign. Right? Little plus sign there, and click that. And you see it has the constraints that I put there. Right? It has origin, it says mate where I mated it to the, and it lights it up. You can see the axis that I mated it to, right? Mate, the 14th mate that I did. And then you'll see this thing that says angle 0 degrees. I'm going to left click on that. And instead of 0, see how it lights up to 0 degrees? I want to do, I'm going to say 90. I'm going to type the word, numbers 90. And hit the tab key, hit enter rather to get it to go. See, now it's 90 degrees off of my crank. And click there. So now when I do the crank, it's a little bit offset, which is what I wanted. There's a reason you're going to see why we want to do this. Now we're going to zoom out a little bit and zoom in up here so we can get this box top all by itself. Now, what you'll notice is I want to put another follower right here, about halfway between this follower and the wall of the box. But I don't have a hole there, so I got to put a hole in the top. And what I'm going to do first is, as you notice when I roll the cursor, the mouse over different things, it lights up the part to say which one do I want to work on. So what I'm going to do is double click this, and I get the box top all by itself. And looking at the left, you can see I've got all this stuff just like if I had made the part and I was opening the part file, right? So this is so you don't have to open up the part file all over again and work on it. You can just do it directly in the assembly. So I have a couple of extrusions that I did. One was to make the box top, one was to make the hole. I'm going to go with I'm going to use the sketch that I used for extrusion 2. So I'm going to click on the little plus sign at the left. So look carefully, there's a little plus sign at the left, and I click on that with the left button. And then I'm going to go to sketch, and I'm going to right click on the sketch with the right button. Right? And see it had all these options, and I want to edit it. And now, just like I'm in the part environment, you have all these other dimensions and stuff that we have. Now, it's a little busy here, and part of the reason for that is because I left them visible, right? We could make the sketches invisible, but for the moment, we'll just leave it as is. Now, I want to put a hole right here. So what I am going to do is start with a circle. And I'm just going to go right over here somewhere. And you'll notice, by the way, sometimes you'll see a little dotted line appear when I put it here. That's saying, hey, I'm already halfway, right, where I wanted it. But in case you don't see it, don't worry about it. But you see the little X and Y dimension there. Like X is 2.750. That happens to be half of 5.5, which is the sort of size of the box I'm dealing with. So I'm going to go right here and make a little circle. And I'm going to type 0.27. There's the dimensions of my circle. Now I want to make sure it's halfway exactly between the wall of the box, right, and the top of the box. So to do that, I'm going to go over here to Dimension. I'm going to left click on Dimension so it turns blue. And I'm going to make the dimension here, right, halfway between this halfway point, 2750, you can see it up here, and the side of the box. Well, I don't feel like doing a lot of math, right? So what I'm going to do is zoom in on this, and I'm going to go right here, light the side of the box up, and I left click it with the left button, right? Whoops, hit the wrong one. So side of the box, left click with the left button, and then I'm going to go to the center of the circle, left click that. Whoop. So we'll make sure I'm in dimension, right? Left click there, right? Do that, and that gives me a dimension. Now, it's a weird dimension, a weird number. I'm going to put it up here where I can see, down here where I can see the thing. Well, I don't feel like figuring out what a quarter of the thing is. So what I'm going to do is just say equal sign and 5.5 divided by 4, because that's going to be halfway. And it centers it automatically for me. Now, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Check this out, though. Over here, it says 2.750. That's the dimension to where I want this. I want them both to be lined up. So if I double click on this and it says edit dimension D6 2.75, right? So I know this is dimension D6. So what I'm going to do here, again, dimensioning, I'm going to go to the bottom of the box, go left click on it, right? I'm going to go to the center of the circle so that lights up, right? And make sure it doesn't do anything weird, right? So we have this. It says 2.768. I'm off a little bit. So what I'm going to do here to make my life a little easier is I'm going to make it equal D6. And see, now it's the same. So no matter what I do with this, it'll always be the same, and I don't have to worry about it. So if I change where this hole is, this will stay with it. So I'm going to finish the sketch. And I can't see where everything is, so I'm going to go over to the sketch here, right? If you're going to go to the left, you see sketch 2 and how it lights up green. So I'm going to right-click on it and make the sketch visible. I'm going to go down here where it says visibility and turn that on with the left button. I'm going to zoom in up here. And then I'm going to say extrude. And so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make sure, now make sure when you zoom in on this too, make sure that the circle lights up. And it'll automatically do the extrusion, but that's not what we want. If we go to the extrusion and go to here where it's the cut, we're going to do that, go the other way. And our distance A, we're going to say 0.25, because that's all we need, and enter. And I'll zoom out, and great, we have a hole in the box. Now, I want to go back into the assembly to work there, so I'm going to go up here. If you notice up here in the upper right, there's a thing that says return, which is what we'll do. I'll click on it with the left button, and now I'm back in the assembly. So again, if I double click on the part, it isolates it and lets me work on it. And up in here on the right, on the upper right where it says return, I left click on that and it gets right back into the assembly. So great, I've got a box with another hole in it. How do I get the follower where I want it? Well, what I'm going to do is if you're not in any other, make sure you hit escape so you're not in anything. And then I left click on this. I'm going to go left click, select it, Control C, and then Control V. That cuts and copies it. And so now I should have, let me try that again. So you select it, Control C, Control V, and then that duplicates it, right? I have a duplicate follower over here that I can use. I want to put the follower in the hole and I want to line it up with the cam. So I'm going to go two things. I'm going to use the constraint tool again. And now, this time, I'm going to move this over here where I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to zoom in, again, just so it's easier to see. Hit the escape key, so we're out. And we're going to go up to here at the top to constrain again, this tool. And I see all the constraints. The mating one is the one I want. I'm going to roll this over, and you see that dotted line going down the center of the follower. That's what I want. Left click it. And then I go over here, and I'm going to zoom in on the hole. And you see that dotted line going through the hole. That's what you want. If you're further away, it's harder to see it. So I'd rather go zoom in, and so I see it again. I left click it, and look, if I click it, it puts it right there. I say apply. And I go back out. Right? And zoom out right here. And then I'm going to be dragging this up a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. So I drag that up. Now I want to get this so that when I turn this, right, see how it goes through and kind of like as though it's invisible? We don't want that. So I want to do two things. I want to line it up and I want to have it actually be there, like physically the way this cam is. So I'm going to do a constraint again. This time I'm doing something called a transitional constraint. And I'm going to go over here to where it says these tabs. You see assembly, motion, transitional, constraint set. So I'm going to go transitional. And I'm going to zoom in on here, right? And what I'm going to do is see how when I touch the follower rather, get that curved part that lights up. I'm going to light that up with the left button. And then I'm going to touch the cam. And the cam I'm going to use, you want to use the surface that it's going to hit. So I'm going to do this right here. Light that up and say apply. And you see how it says it won't do it. So what I need to do before I engage this is I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to move this over here so it can be seen. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to line the cam up. So I'm going to go constrain. And I'm going to use the mating constraint. Sorry, the flush constraint, not the mate. Click on it. And I'm going to go over here again and see how it lights up the side of the follower, this curve, this oval side. That's what I want. So I'm going to light that up. And then I'm going to go down here to the surface of the cam and light that up. And now they're lined up together. And I can say apply. Now the next constraint is where I'm going to do my transitional. So right here, I'm going to go to transitional. There's only one type. My first selection will be, again, the curved surface of the follower. And that turns blue. And then I'm going to use this part of the cam, this part where it kind of drops off to that edge of the snail. Light that. And now I'm going to say apply. And then I'm going to close this. Now let's see if it worked the way it was supposed to. So I go like this. There you go. Now it's dropping up and dropping down. You can see the two followers are moving in very different ways. And that's what I want. So if I go over to the home button here, right, and you see they move in these really weird ways, and you can see I accidentally duplicated another follower there. So I'm going to zoom in here, drag this one out here because I don't need it, right? And I'm just going to delete that right there with the delete key. So great. We now have a cam, right? And we have our follower, and it's doing the kind of funky motion that we want. And the next stage will be to add the third one.